Do you have questions about follow-up? Are you not sure how to keep in touch and keep the momentum and conversation going? Then this episode is for you. Welcome back, everyone, to another amazing episode of More Conversations, Clients, and Cash. I am your host, Kimberly Weitkamp, marketing strategist, host, and conversion copywriter. Super excited today to welcome my friend Mostafa to the show. He's going to talk to us all about follow-up and how to fix our follow-up problems. Mostafa is the founder of Persio Inc. and the creator of, get this list, Simple Retention Formula, Simple Marketing Formula, Simple Awful Formula, and of course, the host of another podcast, the Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs podcast. Currently, he's working with a call center that helps, he has a call center that helps established business fix their follow-up problem and scale through referrals and customer retention without spending any money on ads. Love different methods for us to do the follow-up without doing paid media. He's also an avid skier and hiker and loves to spend time with his family and friends. Super excited to welcome Mostafa Hosseini to the show to talk about fixing the follow-up problem. Mostafa, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for the warm welcome, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So, it's one of the things I've heard a lot, right? The fortune is in the follow-up. And it's something I know a lot of people kind of fall behind on, especially for coaches and entrepreneurs when, we just want to work with our people. We don't necessarily want to do the business side of things. But before we dive into that, I always love to know, how did you get your start doing what you're doing?
Do you want the back end story?
Yes, let's hear it.
All right, let's do it. So I ran an agency, a digital marketing agency from 2010 to 2018. And we did full service digital marketing, anything from websites to email to content, copy, you name it. We did it for our customers along with coaching and consulting. Now, back in the day, I learned from Dan Kennedy about the power of retention and follow-up and how it's the low-hanging fruit and nobody does it. So the story is that every time I ran out of cash or customers and I had a deadline and, I had payroll and stuff, I would worry about it for a few days. Then I would come to my senses and realize that I have a list of prospects and customers and past customers that I could just pick up the phone and call. So I would just call them up, or I would have my team pick up the phone, give them a very simple, friendly, nurturing script to call them up, see what's going on, and if there's anything else we could do for them. And then on the day of or shortly after, we would get cash, appointments, introductions, referrals, you name it. Now, 2018, I started teaching Simple Marketing Formula, and I taught how to create a simple marketing plan. And I learned, I put that together after I read the 80-20 principle by Richard Koch, which kind of changed the way I think and changed my business. Now, the last module in Simple Marketing Formula was always customer retention. So we went from goal setting to target market to offer, lead generation, lead conversion, and customer retention, which
all
is
the
basically
things.
not all the things, basically. So then when it came to customer retention portion, I would share the script with the group and be like, people, you all have a list, big or small. Here's the script that we used and got, results. Take this and call your people today, and you're going to see cash today. And nobody would do it. And I'm like, guys, these are the people. Some of them have said they have a problem and they reached out. Some of them are existing clients. Some of them are past customers. So there is a relationship. You have a reason to call. They still wouldn't do it. And I couldn't figure out why. Then we had a guy who was making calls for us, and he was looking for more work. So a few times during Simple Marketing Formula, I would say, hey guys, I have a guy who could make calls for you to your list. Who wants an introduction? Almost everybody. I'm like, wow. That's very interesting.
Very interesting.
There's something here. and then as that happened a few times, then I'm like, guys, what if we do this for you and we manage it for you? Who wants that? They're like, yep, sign me up. So then we started a call center specializing in follow-up, retention, and referrals.
There you go.
That's the story.
That's the story. And, I love that you kind of figured out where the pivot was, right? For a lot of us, I find we're so focused on the thing that we do, we kind of forget all the other things that we know about, right? And it's so fascinating to me that, so many people, they're like, here's the script, right? You hear all the time, give me a script, give me a template, and I'll go do it. But then the reality is people don't do it, right? It's the same thing with
They
writing
won't
your
do
own
it.
copy. It's the same thing with doing your own marketing half the time, right? You give them the step by step, and then they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So you found that area where people are like, I don't want to.
Well, and then, how I mentioned I couldn't figure out why people don't do it or they don't want to do it. Turns out people just hate to pick up the phone.
Yes, I am one of them.
And I do that naturally. Like, I have no problem calling a friend or someone that I have a relationship with, or they give me a reason to call them. I have absolutely no problem. But then I couldn't figure out because I do it naturally. But then they're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to call people. So I learned it the long way.
The long way. Yeah. And, I find that's something a lot of us, I've heard one of my coaches call it master's blindness, right? The thing that's really easy for us, the thing that's really simple for us, the thing that's really a no-brainer for us, right? It's difficult for other people for various reasons, right? Some people don't
100%.
like talking on the phone. Some people don't like writing. So how can we kind of explore that and find the openings that we can help people with, right? What are more ways that we can help our people? Always love doing that. So with follow-up, right? You had a script, right? And you had somebody who did it for you. What would you say is the number one thing to keep in mind when talking about follow-up and when doing follow-up in your business, whether or not you've got it outsourced? What's the number one thing that we should all keep in mind?
So number one is your intention, I would say. And our intention when we call is to do a very friendly and nurturing follow-up with our people. And that way it gets rid of a good chunk of your fears, because we're doing a very friendly follow-up. It's not a pushy, salesy, buy now type of deal. And so that's the very first thing to keep in mind. Your intention when you're following up is to have a very friendly, nurturing conversation and be there for them and see what could be done for them and where they're at, and see if there's an opportunity for us to serve and support them.
I love that approach. So many of us, we hear the term sales or marketing and we're like, I don't want to do that. It feels icky, right? But when you come to it from the perspective of, well, I want to help my people. How else can I help them today? It completely changes our approach.
Yeah. And then we would call and have a very friendly conversation. Let's say somebody has downloaded your checklist. Give me a name for one of your checklists.
One of my checklists is the Ultimate Lead Magnet Guide.
Perfect. So then we would call, and let's say I'm calling Stephanie, say, hi, Stephanie, my name is Mostafa. I work with Kimberly. The reason I'm calling is it seems like you have downloaded the lead magnet checklist. Does that ring a bell? And if it's recent enough, she would be like, yeah, I did that. And then I would say, hey, did I catch you at a bad time? Right. And then they would know, and they'll let you know if it's a bad time or a good time. Then we would be asking for the reason and work on qualifying the prospect and say, Stephanie, I'm sure you did not want to waste your time. I'm just curious, what was the problem that you are trying to solve by downloading this checklist? Right. And she will tell me if there's a problem or not. Or sometimes people are like, oh, I was just testing things out and there was really nothing. So we're like, no problem. And then if she says, yeah, here's the problem, then we ask and work on qualifying it further and say, is this a pressing issue? Do you want to fix this problem? And then once they say, if they say yes, then how soon do you want to deal with this? Is now the right time? If it's a yes, then we say, would you be open to talk to our team and see if we might be able to help you with this problem, because this is what we do and that's what we specialize in. Right. So I'm not being pushy here. I'm asking questions and I'm qualifying, and they are giving me the response. Right. So I'm not calling to say, hey, Stephanie, looks like you downloaded something. Do you want to buy our package that will help you fix this problem? Which gets a lot of no's. It's just like, have a very friendly and nurturing approach. And a lot of times with, say, existing customers or past customers, we just call to say hi. Hey, how's it going? I noticed that we've been falling short on following up with you and, with our customers. I'm just calling to check in on you and see how things are. Are you happy with our service? And then you can always ask, is there anything else I could do for you? which gives you the ability to maybe ask for more business, you can always ask for a referral and say, hey, John, I'm just curious, who do you know that has problems with lead generation that we can help?
There you
They may
go.
give they may give you a referral. Now, when you ask that question 100 times, you will probably get between 3 to 5 referrals, and that could turn into business.
That could turn into business. And I love the way that you've broken down this approach and kind of just showed us the difference between the conversations, right? When you call to check in, right? That's a thing I think a lot of us don't remember to do, right? A lot of people I speak with, I talk a lot on the marketing side of things about how, your marketing doesn't end at the sale. It actually begins. It's the beginning of your conversation, and you want to create that fantastic experience them throughout the process. So this is just another way for you to kind of build that relationship and build the experience for people. And it's the same type of thing when we're talking about sales, we're talking about customers, right? Oftentimes I'll ask, hey, so do you have a follow-up campaign? Whether that's email, whether that's calling, whether that's texting, whatever it looks like. And people are like, well, but I don't have anything to sell them right now. Right. And it's like, no, okay. Even if you don't have anything to sell right now, that's actually great, because you really are just reaching out to see, hey, are we serving you in the best way that we can serve you?
100%. So what we do is we call the entire list every 3 or 4 months. Just to stay in touch and see where they're at. And then once you ask, touch base with them every 3 or 4 months, see where they're at, and then ask them and educate them to refer you, you become top of mind, and you improve your customer service, you improve your customer retention. At the end of the day, your profitability goes up, and a whole bunch of other things. Because once the customers are happy, they will stay longer with you, they will refer you. And some people tell me that I don't want to bother my customers.
I hear that all the time.
You'd be surprised how often people will thank you for calling them, and they will say, thank you for thinking of me. We get that all the time. They're like, oh my God, thank you for, especially when it's a very friendly and nurturing approach. I'm just calling to say hi and check in on you. How are things? Right. And so you're not bothering them or, hurting them in any shape or form.
Very true. I find a lot of people have the same approach when it comes to getting new clients in the first place, right? I'll talk to people who've got a list, they've got emails, and they're like, yeah, but I don't want to bother my people. I don't want to bother them. My inbox is too full, so I don't want to have to, be another email in their inbox. And then it's a thought exercise, right? It's not I'm going to be another email in their inbox. Instead, it's I'm going to give them another resource. I'm going to give them another piece of information. I'm going to add value to their day and help them achieve their goals, whatever that looks like. And it's the same type of thing what you're talking about, right? With following up with your customers and your existing clients, is you're not bothering them. You're checking in. You're making sure that you're doing everything you can. And having that thought process when you sit down to do these types of activities and tasks, I think it completely changes our approach and the energy around what we're doing.
Absolutely. And so can I share my philosophy on that?
I would love to hear your philosophy. What's your philosophy when it comes to follow-up?
So let me give you the philosophy on this bothering piece, on the follow-up piece, and on the sales piece that will help hopefully reduce some fears and get people into gear and to take some action. So when you say, I don't want to bother them, the fact of the matter is that you would be bothering them by not following up. Because let's say somebody has a problem, they did some search on Google, they asked around, they reached out, they showed and expressed vulnerability and said, Mostafa, I have a problem. Can you help me? Right. And then Mostafa turned around and said, I don't want to bother them.
I'm going to withhold my information because it might interrupt their day.
Yeah. Imagine going to a doctor with a broken shoulder. And you're like, doctor, I need help. And the doctor says, I don't want to bother that person. It's like, come on, man, get in there and fix the problem.
Absolutely.
And so that's that piece about bothering them. Now, here's a sales philosophy. My sales philosophy is that I believe in my product and my service so much so that I have no problem or hesitation about selling the product, because I know it delivers value and it fixes a real problem, and it takes some pain off of people's shoulders, and it drives and delivers results. So do I have any hesitations about selling it? Absolutely not. Am I going to get bothered if somebody calls me pushy and salesy and whatnot? No, because it's not me. I'm actually out there to help fix a problem, right? So if so, you got to sit down and if you're watching or listening, figure out and answer the question: how much do I believe in my product? Do I have any hesitations about the product? What are the values that I deliver? What are the pains and problems that I solve? Once you have a clear understanding of what happens or the answers to those questions, then your hesitation to sell goes down significantly. Now, my philosophy about follow-up is that I have to follow up until the customer is ready to accept us, or until I can show enough value and provide and show my expertise and credibility. Until there is a connection, then I have the opportunity to fix the problem. And if I would not be happy with myself if I give up on a customer that has a problem. Now, sometimes I have to help a customer and be consistent with my follow-up to help them, to get them out of their own way. Because a lot of times customers raise their hand, they say, I have a problem. And as soon as we have a conversation, they're like, no, actually, it's not that big of a deal. Right? Have you ever seen that, Kimberly?
The rapid backpedaling, or when people are like, oh, I think this is my problem, but now talking to you, I actually realize this other thing is my problem, and I'm not sure about, addressing this right now. Or, I think a lot of us are reluctant to do change or to make changes in our lives. So the process of following up, right, is also part of that action step for people is, oh, I'm doing it on my own, so it'll get to it when I get to it. And so just by calling up and saying hi, it's a nice reminder as well about like, hey, you said you wanted help with this thing. Are you getting the help you need?
100%. So then you would follow up and be there. I learned this from Jeff Walker years ago, and he said about 80% of transactions happen within the first 18 months of the first point of contact. And so you would have to stay in touch with your prospects and customers, in this case prospects, for at least 18 months until they're ready to do a transaction with you. And think about how much money and business you're leaving on the table, to the tune of 6, 7, or 8 figures, depending on the size of business that you're in. You're leaving that kind of money on the table by just not following up.
I love this. Let's take a moment, absorb that truth bomb, right? Within 18 months, they're going to say yes. But how many of us stop following up after the second point, right? Oh, you know what? I realized this person's not interested, right? I'm actually bothering this person. There's a great example here, right? We were supposed to have this interview a couple weeks ago, and I had to cancel because I had a migraine, right? Very fun. Wasn't going to be able to host the podcast. But some people would say, if I hadn't given a reason, or even if with the reason, they're like, oh, well, they don't actually want to talk to me. Oh, well, that's not really something that she's interested in. Obviously, I don't have a good message. So, I'm not going to come on, right? And so many of us start this internal dialogue in our heads about why somebody didn't take action the first time. But it does take time. Right? If somebody joins your list today, they might be among the 1 to 3% who are ready to say yes. But 97% of people aren't ready to say yes immediately. So you need to keep talking to them, communicating with them, right? And the reason why they didn't say yes is a reason you may not even know. And it has nothing to do with who you are or what you do. It's just not the right time for them. So by doing a follow-up, we're actually doing them a service to help them figure out when they want to address that problem, right?
Absolutely. About 48% of salespeople never follow up.
That's a crazy number. That's just a crazy number.
Just a few more percentage. I don't remember the exact number. Just a few more percentage points. Follow up a second time and stop. Right. And then the other side of the story is that about 80% of transactions happen within the 5th to 12th point of contact.
Yep. Takes more than once,
And
people.
right. And it's kind of like people want to find someone that wants to get married on day one. It's like, come on, buddy. It takes a little more time to to build the trust and the relationship and the rest of it. So give it some time. Give them some time. Sometimes people say they opt in and they raise their hand, and then we want them to buy it right now. And they say, look, I'm not ready right now. Call me in a month or 2 or 3, and then let's talk again. 99% of people don't call in 2 or 3
Absolutely.
months. And then we're like, look, give this person a chance to get ready. And they said they're interested. They showed interest, and
Mhm.
call them up and follow up and, take care of them.
Absolutely. I have a great example in my own life, right? I met somebody earlier this year. They had a program and they invited me to apply for it. And I said, you know what? Right now, that's not where my focus is on my business. I'm not focused on that in my business right now. I'm focused on this other thing. And they said, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. And then a few months later, they contacted me again, right? In the meantime, they host these open networking events. So I kept going to the networking events, having the interaction with them. I was on their list. I get to hear from them a few times, right? And then they contacted me last month and they're like, hey, I'm starting another cohort of this program. Is now a good time for you? And I was like, absolutely, yes. This is exactly what I'm looking for right now. Thank you so much for reaching out. I was thankful that this person followed up and said, hey, we're doing another cohort. We're starting again. Is this a good time for you to get started now? Because 7 months ago, it wasn't a good time. That's
Yeah,
not what I was interested in. But I was
absolutely.
thankful they reached out and I said, yeah, absolutely. This is what I was thinking of. Thank you for reminding me.
Absolutely. Look, the number one problem with most businesses is lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to bet that a lot of them have a list of prospects, customers, and past customers that they have not called or contacted to see where they're at.
Absolutely. I would say people think their problem is lead generation, but it's actually the follow-up, right? You get all of
Yeah.
these leads and then you don't talk to them, but
Yeah.
they've
So
already raised their hand.
absolutely. So it's like, what's the point of getting new leads if you're not going to follow up with them?
Yep. So true.
Why don't you just maybe follow up with, like, I've talked to numerous people that have thousands and thousands of people on their email list and their phone list and whatnot, and they're crying about cash and leads. I'm like, have you called your list? They're like, no. I'm like, that's so easy. Just pick up the phone and here's the script and have a conversation. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. Well, that's why we're in business. But they were like, well, you're sitting on a gold mine.
Yes.
Tap into that gold mine first, and then exhaust it. And until you've done that, don't even think about new lead generation, because it's so much harder and and it costs a lot more and the rest of it.
Absolutely. It's very true, right? To get a new person to say yes, to get a new person to take the action to join your world, it's a lot of convincing. But when somebody's in your world, they've already like, yeah, you can talk to me. I'm open to hearing from you. So it's a lot easier to move them to that next step.
100%.
But we often don't do that. So one of the questions I want to ask you then, Mostafa, is, I love hearing about how people are kind of using their own philosophies in their business as well, right? So you've got a community, you're running this call center. What are some of your favorite follow-up methods? And how do you connect with people to then bring them into the follow-up process? Obviously, I know you're a big fan of picking up the phone, but
Yeah.
how else do you meet people? How else do you get them into your world and then make sure that they're the right person to do that follow-up with?
So what are the follow-up methods?
No, not necessarily what are the follow-up methods, but how do you connect out into the world and grow your business?
Through networking events, affiliate partners. That's affiliate partners is probably the number one. Networking events through social media, people that meet us. And those are probably top 3 ways that we do it. So affiliate partners, networking, and social media.
Right. And one of those, I really want to highlight, you said networking, which is going out and talking about your business. But again, most of us go to a networking event. We're like, I'm going to get so many clients. But the reality is you're going to go to a networking event and you're going to start the relationship. And then you need to do the follow-up.
And so the easiest way to start a relationship is thinking of how you can help them, make an introduction for them, give them a referral, help them in a shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the fastest, surefire way to build and start a relationship versus just pitch. Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? Type of approach.
Absolutely. So we've got a few minutes left here. What are some of your favorite follow-up methods? Obviously, you said, pick up the phone, follow the script. But what are some other methods that people who maybe are scared of picking up the phone or just want to know how to be consistent in keeping up with their people?
Yeah. One thing I like is send out physical mail or snail mail or a physical cart to their doorstep. And a service that I like is send out cards, because you can because you can create a campaign and actually automate a part of it. Right, on their birthday, on an anniversary, on Christmas, you can actually set up a campaign for every month throughout the year and have send out cards, send it to a select number of people or the entire list automatically. So they get something physical in their hand on their doorstep. And it actually gives you the ability to attach some gifts as well. Maybe you could add a couple of brownies and it shows up like one of those Amazon boxes on their porch. And people are like, oh my God, what is this? Well, a letter from Kimberly with a couple of brownies. Are they going to remember that? Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. And then you could probably follow that up with a simple phone call and say, hey, how's it going? And they'll be like, oh my God, thank you for the brownies, blah, 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 blah. So there's a conversation. That's one of my favorite methods. And the second one is, like you said, hosting a networking event, maybe on Zoom, on a monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly basis, where you invite your entire list, connect people together, establishes yourself as the authority, as the go-to person, and run a topic, teach something, get people to network. And that's a simple, easy, and fairly, I would say it's even free. Like you don't have to pay, maybe just your time. And those are probably the top 2 or 3 favorite things to do. And then obviously phone calls.
Obviously phone calls.
Call
Don't forget
your
the
list
phone
every
calls,
3 or 4
people.
months, and you'd be surprised how much business and you would get out of that.
Absolutely. All right. So we are almost at time here, Mostafa. What would you say is the number 1 action step somebody should take right now to start getting consistent with their follow-up?
The easiest, fastest way to get cash and appointments and referrals is pick up the phone and call your list. Now, you may have some fears. It's easy for me to say easy, but think about, again, think about the intention. The intention is to follow up and check in. That's not very hard. Don't even think about selling. Call and see where they're at, meet them where they're at, and ask the question, is there anything I could do for you? Right? And you'd be surprised, a bunch of people would be like, you do websites? And you're like, yeah, well, you know what? My website needs updates. Can we talk about that? Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we talk about it now, or set a time for tomorrow to talk about it and see what we could do. So that's like a surefire way to get business.
Absolutely. There's power in picking up the phone. A lot of us are reluctant to do it. I know I'm one of those people who it's not my favorite method, but I do love sending out the cards, actually, which usually prompts a call or prompts an email to start the conversation again about, hey, it's been a few months. Let's catch up. Let's make sure we're still on the same page. Tell me what's new about your business. I'll tell you what's new about mine. But there's a lot of value to be had in just touching base with people who've already worked with you, who've said maybe in the past, and the people who've recently joined, right? And there is that fortune in the follow-up. And you've given us some really great tactics and action steps to take here on how to use follow-up in our business. And I think some really great numbers too, right? Just that reminder that it takes a few times before someone's ready, right? And there's nothing that's wrong with what you're offering. It's more of, well, people aren't ready yet. So how can you communicate with them until they are? So I want to say thank you so much, Mostafa, for sharing your wisdom with us today and for coming in and giving some really great information and tidbits and action steps. If people want to learn more about you and what you do, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. If follow-up is a problem, you really cannot get yourself to pick up the phone and call. Maybe your list is too big and you're just busy doing what you're doing. You could go to fixmyfollowupproblem.com. The site is, again, fixmyfollowupproblem.com, all one word, no hyphens, nothing in between. And in there, there's a short video explaining our process, and you can book a time to have a chat with myself, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely right. So if you have a follow-up problem, if you're one of those people who's not fond of picking up the phone and contacting people who've already said yes to you, do be sure to check out fixmyfollowupproblem.com to learn more about Mostafa and what he does. Of course, you can also just go and check out what options are out there as well. If you're not ready yet, maybe, but you want to know how to fix your follow-up problem, that's what Mostafa does. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Mostafa, and for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great to be here. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. All right, everyone. That's a wrap for this episode of More Conversations, Clients, and Cash, where we talk about the business side of building up your coaching or entrepreneurial business. We have been talking about follow-up and the importance of actually connecting and contacting people after that first touch point. So until next time, keep calm and follow up.